Come on in, everybody. This is a safe space. It's not as safe as Logan Roy's safe space, but what are you going to do?
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-ba.
Hey, everyone. I'm Andrew Fantasia. Welcome to Thumb Together TV, and today we're going to be talking about Succession Season 2, Episode 4, Safe Room Together. Are we already 4 weeks into this? Holy cow. We're just about halfway through the season already. That's the deal with HBO, baby. You get there, and then it's over. Now, the episode is called Safe Room because, guess what? Somebody fired a gun in the office, so everybody has to be ushered off into a safe room, and everybody immediately jumps to conclusions, thinking that they are the target of some vast conspiracy or some Antifa shooting because everybody is a self-centered asshole on this show. And then it turns out to not be that. But in the meantime, we get some of the best deliveries from characters like Greg, characters like Tom, in the midst of this lockdown that has the office up in arms about something that, at the end of the day, they don't even really care about. And luckily for the Roys, it just so happens to coincide with a meeting with Rhea Jarrell. Now, we've been talking about Rhea Jarrell coming by to do some kind of meeting. We finally get to meet her, and surprise, she gets out of a car, and it's Mrs. Incredible. And she kindly tells Logan Roy where he can take his offer of a buyout, and says she just wants to leave, that she has better things to do with her time. But then, lo and behold, a gunshot goes off, the building goes on lockdown, and Rhea Jarrell is stuck with the Roys for the time being. That's a dangerous place to be stuck. You don't want to get stuck in a viper's nest if you don't feel like getting bitten by a snake. But maybe she does feel like being bitten by a snake, because as we find out later, Rhea Jarrell is more open to a deal than we might think. And, you know, stuff always seems to work this way on the show. Even in the first season when Kendall was attempting his whole coup, the universe just seemed to move things in a way that favored Logan. There was that whole issue where Kendall was trying to get to that meeting, but first he had to go to like Long Island or something and visit that sick lady in person because she happened to get sick during that meeting. And then on his way back, there happened to be a terror alert in New York, so the streets were clogged and he couldn't get to the building in time. And now the same thing's happening. There just so happens to be a gunshot going off in the office when Miss Jarrell is in there to discuss a possible buyout, and Logan wins, just like always. It's so strange how this despicable, detestable human being seems to have the entire universe on his side. And it makes you wonder if that luck is ever going to run out, or if it's just going to get so big and so continuously, snowball effect that he won't be able to control it. Which I hope it goes in that direction, because that sounds a lot more fun. Plus, if he's buying out more companies than Waystar Royco can handle, I think that is definitely where the compass is pointing. Speaking of Waystar Royco, somebody is trying to move their way up from the bottom, and that somebody is Roman, and we get this amazing scene of Roman trying to integrate himself into the minimum wage sector down in the theme parks area. Everything that happens with Roman is usually worth a laugh, but here in particular, from the way he insults everybody who is not a one-percenter, talking about how there's not enough hand sanitizer in the world to wipe the America off of him. And then all of a sudden, he's dressed up as a giant turkey in the theme park, talking about the patrons' sex lives under his breath, but not quietly enough that they're not able to hear him. It's 100% Roman, because Roman never really sugarcoats anything he says. I kind of want to see Roman work in the park like all the time. I just want him to keep that turkey costume on, walk around the park, and just keep doing that forever. Like, just let that be his job. Please, let there be a character who is just Roman in a turkey suit, and that's part of the attraction. Now, when this gunshot goes off and everybody in the office starts hurtling towards lockdown procedure and panic rooms and whatnot, Tom and Greg, as usual, get stuck together and they get shepherded into what they have been told is a panic room, which is really just a side room that nobody uses, with some bottles of water and some Cheez-Its as rations, depending on how long they have to be in there. And it slowly devolves into a very Lord of the Fliesy situation very quickly, within a matter of hours, just showing how uncontrollably out of touch with the real world these people are. And the panic that we get, especially from Greg, it makes for some of the episode's funniest lines. including pointing to a glass window, saying that window does not look bulletproof. A small human could fit through that. An attack child could fit through that. Greg is ready and prepared for an attack child to come after him. We always like to look at Greg as kind of the outsider, maybe the one redeemable person, because he's not really a Roy. But at the same time, he is probably the first one to get picked off when push comes to shove, because the guy is not good in a crisis, as we have seen here. I said he had some of the funniest lines of the episode in this scene, because I think the best laugh out loud part of this whole thing was that eulogy given by Connor. And I'm talking about both eulogies. I'm talking about the one he had prepared and then the one his girlfriend prepared for him. The idea of going to the funeral of a handsy, molesty uncle and starting off the eulogy by saying that he has touched us all. I don't even know where to begin with that, but I kind of want to hear the rest of that eulogy and just see what that would have been all about. But then to hand his paper over to his girlfriend and have her give him the sort of user-friendly eulogy that does not give anything away, because that biographer is in the audience and she's hanging on to every word, that was hilarious. And surprisingly kind of fitting, considering that Connor wants to run for president. Because that is a politician's speech. You say 5 minutes worth of words, and at the end of it all, you really have said nothing at all. So I can just imagine this guy running for presidency, getting presidency, and then having his girlfriend write all his speeches, and they all sound exactly like this. I need that now. I need that to happen because I need to see what Connor Roy as president looks like when he's addressing the American people. But at the end of it all, we have a very tragic thing going on in the office, and as usual, the Roys are completely oblivious to it and completely indifferent to it because all they cared about was their own machinations. Because guess what? That gunshot, it wasn't a shooter. It wasn't somebody from Antifa having a bad day. It was a worker from the office who had had enough and killed himself. And when all is said and done, nobody is expressing remorse. Nobody is giving sympathies. It's all just back to business as usual. The only change being that Logan decides he's going to put a safety wall up on the roof. And even that is not an act of compassion. That is an act of control. Because guess who likes to spend all his time up on the roof lately? Kendall. And Kendall gets dangerously close to the edge of that roof because he is a broken down man who has, pretty much nothing left going for him. The edge of that roof is starting to look mighty enticing to Kendall Roy, and I think Logan knows that because Logan seems to know everything. So by erecting that wall, he's not saying, I'm keeping you safe. He's saying, I'm keeping you. Period. You're done when I say you're done. And we finally see that effect sort of break through the hollow shell that Kendall's been walking around with all season, and we see him break down again, and a little bit of his humanity come out when he's approached by Shiv. And there's that great little moment where he finds a safe space with her, even if it's only for 2 seconds, and then he just walks away. And we see that realization dawn on Shiv's face, and Shiv is like, oh my god, something is seriously wrong with him. Even though the dynamic between the siblings gets incredibly catty and hurtful and just cold-blooded to the extreme, there's a sense of almost playfulness to it that kind of permeates everything. And this was, you could tell by the look in Shiv's face when she's hugging him, she's like, oh, he's not playing. This isn't fun for him right now. He is seriously hurting. And that, I think, is going to change things around this season. I think that's going to start to make Shiv aware of just how dangerous this new position she is in could get for her. Now I'm really curious to see, does she walk on eggshells around her father, knowing what he has done to Kendall, or does she just kind of move on obliviously like everybody has done with this employee? That, I think, is the tipping point. I think this is where the season could go in either direction. It looks like the buyout of Pierce is going to happen, so it looks like the company is going to get bigger. But what does that mean on a personal level to the siblings? And I think that Shiv kind of holds the key. She can either sway it one way or the other, and wherever she goes, I think the others will follow. Thankfully, we still have 6 episodes left. We're not quite over the midpoint hump yet, but damn, Safe Room, well done. Anyway, that has been Succession Season 2, Episode 4, Safe Room. That has been Thumb Together TV. I have been Andrew Fantasia, and you have been pretty damn awesome. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you here next time. Until then, adios.